welcome back to Ladylike Opinions. This is Life After Lockup, Season 3, Episode 57, I Plead the Fifth. Okay, we're going to do like we always do, couple by couple. This is Brittany and Ray is up first. So she in there telling him, what to wear, because her mama finna come over to finally meet him. She finally agreed to meet him because, she had these requirements that he had to, meet certain criteria in order for her to meet him. Like, girl, whatever. So the mama and dad show up, and her dad is having a nice little conversation with Ray or whatever, and he asks him, how's work been going, and Ray feels like him and her dad has bonded over some stuff or whatever. And here go her mama in this bad wig talking about she glad to finally meet Ray, and she glad that she appreciates him for meeting her demands. And I'm like, girl. So she asked where he lived, and he said, I forgot exactly where he said he was from or where he was raised, and she was like, oh, you from the suburbs, so you just got hooked up with people that wanted to rob people. And I'm like, we just gonna come out the gate, huh? So Ray gives her the rundown on how his mom passed and how it affected him, and it, influenced him to hang with the wrong crowd, and seeing all the amount of money that he was getting, he never seen that type of money before. It was like a rush for him. So she asked how long he did that, and he said for a year, and she was like, oh, you got caught fast. And she said she got a lot of questions. And she was like, what he was doing in the whole thing. And he said, they were stealing from different pharmacies and then bringing the, drugs back to Houston and selling them for a higher price. And she was like, so you was robbing? And he said, I wouldn't call it robbing. It was more like burglary, because we never put a gun to anybody's head or robbed anyone at gunpoint. We were just breaking in and taking stuff. And Brittany said she can't picture Ray in all black with a mask on. And I'm like, girl, shut up. These dummies don't even use that no more. So the dad asked if he ever stopped and looked in the mirror and was like, this ain't me. This not what I'm supposed to be doing. And Ray said, of course I did. But the thrill and the money, had me keep going. So the mom was like, does this prevent you from, owning anything, making purchases like a car or a house? And Ray was like, no, I can still do that, but I gotta pay $143,000 in restitution. And Brittany's mom was sitting there like, say what now? What'd he say? Come again? And I'm like, you heard him. And she just sitting there with her mouth wide open in her bad wig. And she said, she know people make mistakes, and they believe in redemption, but this is not okay for my daughter. That's okay for everybody else's daughter, but they ain't okay for mine. So I'm worried, and I don't know how your baggage will impact her. And she wonders if, Brittany will be held responsible if Ray doesn't pay. And he said everything is on him. He said everything is on him because he got into all this on his own before he met her, and they can violate him and send him back to prison if he doesn't pay. And Brittany gonna say she didn't know that. And I'm like, girl, this what you get for going to go get a man that's in prison. How you not know what come with dating a man that's in prison? If this what you gonna do, you should have did your research, girl. So, the mom was like, Brittany couldn't find somebody without a record. Ray said, I'm working and I'm keeping up with my payments. I haven't got behind. I'm doing this every month. And the mom like, anybody can have a job, but it takes a real man to keep one. And I'm like, well, lady, you told him he had to have his job for a few months and have a few paychecks before he could meet you, and he did that. Now you still ain't satisfied, but what I need to be worried about is, why is your daughter on prison sites looking for men? That's what you need to be worried about. But anyway, so she thinks Brittany should see a lawyer before she thinks about marrying Ray. So then you see it's another day, and Ray is outside, watering plants or whatever, and then Brittany comes outside and was like, her birthday is coming up, and she was like, so what you got planned? And I'm like, and Ray was like, I mean, I did want to surprise you. And I'm like, you can't surprise no like that. So But then she was like, oh, I got the best ideas. How you gonna ask him what he got planned and you already got... Brittany works my nerve. So, she said she wants to go to Miami for her birthday and she want Ray to come with her. But, he said he got to talk to his parole officer first. And she was like, well, hurry up and call because I need a vacation soon. And Ray said, Miami is expensive and I don't think that we're going to be able to afford all this. And she was like, we can make, especially we want to make have a family and all that. She was like, oh, we can make a baby in Miami. And I'm like, that's all she worried about. And then she said, he said, he not trying to go out of town and then some bull crap happens and he end up back in jail. That's the last place he want to be, in jail in another state. And she said, all you got to do is worry about is me being wild and crazy. And I'm like, girl. So Ray said he doesn't think it's a good idea because he on parole for 3 years and he don't want to get in trouble in another state again. And she said she wants them to be normal and put prison behind them. How can you put prison behind you when this boy is going to be on parole for another 3 years and y'all only been together a few months? Girl, make it make sense. So, and I'm like, well, how about next time you find a man that's already out in the free world and not have to be on probation? Okay, next time. That's a thought, Brittany. So, she got in her head that this trip is going to be a good idea for him to propose to her in front of her family and friends since they going to be there. And I'm like, well, I think I'm going to be the one to tell you that ain't no proposing going to be going on because Ray Bout ain't going to be able to go on that trip. Now, if he go, it's going to be a shock for me if his PO sign off on there because that's very rare, but, especially he black, so anyway. But then that was the end of Brittany and Ray. So then we got Shane and Lacey. So Lacey said she says a lot of things out of anger and telling Shane she regretted marrying him was something that she didn't see coming. And he said, I'm confused and I'm sad about what you said. And she said she didn't meant to say what she meant to say was she was disconnected and he abandoned her and their daughter. And he says he messed up and he doesn't want things to continue the way they is. And he was like, he doesn't want to lose his family because he wants his daughter to have something that he didn't have, which is, a well-rounded family. And they can make it work if they really wanted to. And she starts crying and says she doesn't see a family with anyone else but him. And she doesn't want to give up on him. And she wants them to start off fresh and become stronger together. And she says she loves him and doesn't want anyone else. And I'm seeing here like lies. So then I guess it's the next day or a couple days, I don't know. And you see the producers asking Lacey what happened. And we seeing Shane get arrested and police everywhere. And she was like, I don't really want to talk about it. And that was like, she said her dad had the kids or whatever. And she started saying she don't want to talk about it. She don't want to talk about it. But in her confessional, she said they got into an argument because he asked her if she was back talking to John behind his back, and she told him yes. She said they got into a horrible fight, and they got into a horrible argument. So she called John, and they went to a bar, and she recording them kissing. I don't know if she was just recording the video or it was live. It looked like it was live, and she posted it. That's what it looked like to me. And she said it was one of the best times of her life that she hadn't had in a while, and they end up having sex all night long. She said they are not happy, and she doesn't know how they got here, her and Shane. And I'm like, how you don't know how y'all got here? The common denominator, you and John. Always. You can't let John go, and you won't let Shane go, but you making Shane self-sabotage himself. Because now, I ain't for domestic violence, but if you sat there and told that man in his face that you was back messing with John and he grabbed you around your throat, I ain't gonna be mad at him. But you know what? It ain't my business. So Amber and Puppy. So Puppy goes to see her mom, and she says, her mom been going through chemo and she's been sick for a while, and she's not in the best place to give her advice, but she really needs to talk to her right now. So she tells her mom she went out with Amber and says Amber deserves better than what Sammy was giving her. She's glad that she's letting Sammy go. And the mom was like, do you think it's you that Amber deserves? And she was like, no, mom, I have a man. And she was like, I can be my worst enemy sometimes. And she tells, her mama about the parole officers came when her mama was in the hospital. And the neighbor told the parole officer that she didn't live there anymore. And she was like, now I got a warrant out for my arrest. And they accused me of changing my address without notifying them. But she was like, I stay with my mom. She was like, I do spend a lot of time at my boyfriend's house, but my mom is where my address is and where I stay. And her mom tells her, you need to turn yourself in. And she was said, she was like, you need to turn yourself in. And Puppy was like, that would be at the end of me if I do that. She said, her mom was like, if she don't take care of it, it's going to be longer time she's going to have to spend in there. And Puppy was like, she don't think her mom is in the condition for her to turn herself in. And Mama said, she worried if they catch her, they would put her in there and give her more time. And she wants to be around to see Puppy come out if she do end up going to jail. And, then she starts crying. And she said, she loves Puppy more than life itself. But she knows as a mother, there is nothing she can do to keep her out of trouble. So she said, Puppy has to fix this herself. And Puppy feels like they got enough time out of her already in jail. And I'm like, girl, we'll stay out. And she was like, I might run. And then you see, Puppy FaceTiming Amber. And she tells her mom thinks, she should turn herself in. And Amber said she thinks, Amber was like, let me call my PO and see what she says. And, I'm gonna call you later because my break is over. And so Puppy was like, oh, so now that you ain't drunk no more, you ain't got time for me no more. And I'm like, okay, Puppy. So then Eric shows up and he asks her, what was wrong with her. And she was like, why something gotta be wrong with me? And he was like, I'm just asking. And she, then she tells him about the warrant. And the first thing he come out his mouth is like, they should run. And I'm like, what? And she said she doesn't want to leave her mom, but he like, we doing good now. We living good. We're doing our best life. We're living our best life. We don't want to give up on each other. And he said if she doesn't want to turn herself in, he is down with whatever it is. And if they have to go on a run, they gonna go. And then he sent her a text asking her to marry him. He's sitting right next to her, right? He sent her a text somebody, that's how he got her attention. You think if you didn't get on one knee, you wouldn't have got her attention? I guess. So, she was like, are you serious? And he said, yeah, it's pretty cut and dry. And I'm like, no, it's not. You text her. How it's cut and dry is that? And she asked, why now? And he said he wanted to marry her the first time he saw her. And, she keeps asking the same question. Are you serious? You sure? And I'm like, girl, say yes or no. Which one? And so, she was like, you really want to marry me? And he said, yes. And she said, well, yes, I will marry you. And, he was like, if they leave the country, she was like, if they leave the country, they're not going to stay for long. And I'm like, yeah, just say all this on camera like they ain't watching y'all. Just dumb. And that was the end of them. So then we get to Sean and Sarah. So we see Sarah and her daughter moving in. Something she said she wasn't going to do, but they moving in this week. Girl, whatever. So she talking about something, even though he lied to her multiple times, that the love doesn't go away. I mean, nobody said it was going to go away, but nobody said be stupid, Come on, Sarah, keep up. So she was like, if you was, I'm like, if you was going to move in, you could at least move in with just you and let your daughter stay with your mama for a while, just so you could feel the situation out. I wouldn't have uprooted my daughter from something that you just got out. You ain't been out a good year yet. And your mama had your daughter for 6 years. And you just gonna, not saying like you shouldn't take your daughter because she is yours, but it's kind of like you should have had a balance and a better transition than that, to just throw your daughter into a situation with a man you don't even know. Like, what do y'all be thinking? Like, I guess that's the reason why I probably ain't gonna keep no man, because I don't really meet, well, my kid's 14 and 19, so, and I still don't bring nobody around them, so I'm rambling. But anyway, she done brought the dogs and everything with her. And as soon as the dogs, she was like, if he stopped lying, they'll be okay. And as soon as the dogs get in the house, they pee on the floor. And I'm like, see this? And they think it's just so fun. And I'm like, that dog be outside fooling with me, but y'all go ahead. And he said, he's excited, of course, that she is moving in. And, she was like, but my mama is pissed. Her mom is pissed, and she was like, she feels like her mom is gonna have to accept this. And I was like, yeah, because you'll be back. Your mama already know. So Sean said, tells the daughter, he got a surprise for her in her own. She got her own room, and he wants to show Sarah that he can be a good stepdaddy to her daughter. And I'm like, how about you show her you can be a good daddy to your own kids first? Like, boy, bye. So, it just kills me how, like, y'all can be a good daddy to somebody else's kids, but just forget all about your own. Just like a ninja. So he built this little bed for her, and, he was like, we gonna make sure your room look extra special and everything. Of course, she loves it. And I'm like, I'm wondering which rooms you got decked out for them 6 kids. Oh, now? Oh, okay. So, he helps her decorate, he helps her fix up the bed or whatever. And, Sarah says she loves how he treats her daughter so well because they are a package deal and you wasn't going to accept me without accepting my daughter. And then the messy producers asked, if they wanted kids together. And Sean said, if it happens, it happens. But he has 6 kids already. And Sarah gets mad and says, like, that's how you gonna answer this? Okay, then she starts crying. And, then she was like, and I'm like, girl, he didn't say no. He just said he got 6 kids already. And she said they talked about having kids before, and she don't know why he said what he said now. And he said it came out wrong, and he tries to, apologize. And she tells him, just shut up. And she tells him to keep his kids that he got with Kelly and leave her out of it. And I'm like, y'all, you just love throwing Kelly name in there. You don't even know the situation. And she puts her coat on and says she is done, and she goes out the door. And of course, he follows her out the door, and they still arguing about how he answered the question about having kids. And so, they both get in the car, and, they get ready. Well, she wants to go home. She says she wants to go home. And I'm like, where the daughter at? I see her and him get in the car. Where the daughter was? I don't know. But she tells him in the car as they're driving off to get back with Kelly or Destiny or one of them. And he was like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to be with you. I'm right here with you. And I'm like, so then last but never least, Deontay, Nicole, and Tia. Well, really Deontay. Deontay still talks to his mama and his friend Derek, and they pissed with him because, he's still trying to go to Nicole and Tia's wedding. And his mom is like, you told me you were over her. And Derek said, how you over her, but you talking about going to her wedding? You might as well put on a dress and be a bridesmaid because you just dumb. You sound dumb. And his mama tells him she doesn't want him to be there at the wedding. She wants him to turn and walk away and forget that he ever met Nicole. Which, duh. So Deontay said nobody seems to understand him. It's like he got different voices in his head. One is telling him to move on, and the other is telling him to go save her. And he said he cares about her, and he don't know why. And he doesn't know why. And Derek said, I don't know why either. Because when she got out, only thing y'all shared was your debit card and her swiping it. And the mom was like, she wouldn't even be intimate with you, son. This was a scheme to get money from you. She said she went on a site to find a sucker, and you were to her, all you were to her was a money flow. And she talking about, he's talking about she cried every time at the sight of him, and he can tell when she's being manipulated, and she's different around him versus when she's around Tia. Mama said, you got this savior complex and you want to fix people. And she was like, you can tell that Nicole is being manipulated by someone, but you can't tell that you being manipulated the same way. And Deontay was like, you know, he not gonna go there with no hostility. And Derek said, oh, I support all the foolishness and shenanigans, and you effing up Nicole Day will make me feel even much more better. And Derek was like, you know, he been married 3 times, and I'm like, circle back around. Circle back around. I need more information on why you been married 3 times. But, you know, I'm going to let you have that because you do be getting in Deontay tail. But why do you be getting in Deontay tail? I'm going to let you slide with that one right now, Derek. And he said, you know, he don't want him to go there when Daisy, he don't want him to go to the wedding. I almost said funeral. I don't know why I want to say funeral when it comes to weddings. Maybe because you is dying. He said, you know, he don't want Deontay to go to the wedding, and when the preacher holler out, does anybody have any objections? He don't want Deontay to get up there and be like, baby, please, I love you, baby. And he was like, because you're gonna look like a damn fool. And, you know, that was the end of the episode. And I can't wait to see Deontay crash the wedding next week and what's gonna happen. But, you know, like, comment, share, subscribe. That was my review of Life After Lockup, Love After Lockup, whichever one you want to call it. I don't know. But I will get back to you guys next week, hopefully sooner. Goodbye.